I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Sarah for about 5 years now. We seemed happy enough on the surface, nice apartment, decent jobs, and a couple of vacations that we both pretended were perfect. But over the past few months, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. She'd be late coming home from work more often, and when I asked her where she was, she'd brush me off with some lame excuse about client dinners or last-minute meetings. Honestly, I didn't think much of it at first. I figured she was just busy or maybe stressed out. But then she started acting weird when I'd try to bring up us, or anything that might hint at us spending quality time together. She'd get defensive, roll her eyes, change the subject, or give me some kind of bitchy remark like, "Can't you just trust me?" It felt like I was walking on eggshells, like I was bothering her just by trying to make sense of what was going on. It wasn't just her attitude. She started wearing different clothes, more revealing, trying to look more attractive, even when she didn't need to. There were nights she'd leave the house late, claiming she was running errands or going to the gym, but I'd see her sneaking out the door with her purse just a little too late. And once, I caught her leaving a strange hotel downtown after work, but she brushed it off like it was no big deal. Something was seriously wrong, and I knew it. I just didn't want to admit it yet. I was afraid of what I might find out. Then last Thursday, everything exploded. I came home early from work because I was feeling under the weather. I was planning to rest, maybe order some pizza, just relax. But as I unlocked the door, I noticed her phone lying on the counter, something I'd never seen before. I usually kept my distance from her stuff, but I was curious. I picked it up and saw she'd left a message open, something from a number I didn't recognize. It wasn't a big deal at first. I figured it was just a client or someone she was texting about work. But then I saw the message. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll be there at 8. Don't forget to wear that dress." My stomach dropped. The message was from some guy, not her brother, not a friend, some random number. I felt this cold rush of shock and anger. I knew she'd been lying, hiding something, and now I had proof. The worst part, I didn't even need to guess who the "you" was in that message. I knew she was cheating on me. I knew she'd been lying for months, and I knew my life as I knew it was about to change forever. I took a deep breath and stared at the phone in my hand, trying to process what I'd just seen. It was like my mind was trying to deny it, but the proof was right there, staring back at me. That message wasn't just some accidental slip or a harmless flirt. It was clear she was sleeping with someone else, and that someone was probably her boss, Jake. I'd heard her mention him a few times, how he was such a great boss, how she admired his confidence, and how he always understood her. But hearing her talk about him in that way, seeing that message, it all clicked into place. I felt this insane mix of emotions hit me all at once: betrayal, anger, sadness, and confusion. How did I miss all of this? How did I not see that my wife was capable of hiding something this huge? I kept staring at the message, trying to figure out what I should do. Should I confront her immediately? Should I wait and see if she slips up again? Or just pack my bags and walk away? I didn't have an answer right then, but I knew I couldn't just pretend it wasn't happening. Not anymore. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything: her sneaky late nights, her attitude, the little lies she'd told me. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that maybe it was just a fling, that she'd never do something like this seriously. But deep down, I knew better. When someone cheats, it's never just a one-time thing. It's a sign of something broken in the relationship, or maybe just in her. I felt numb and furious all at once. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that? I kept asking myself that question over and over, and I realized I was at a crossroads. I had to decide whether to confront her right away or gather more evidence, but I knew one thing for sure: this wasn't something I could ignore anymore. The next morning, I woke up early, feeling sick to my stomach. I knew I couldn't go to work like this, not with my head spinning and my mind racing. So I stayed home, trying to plan my next move. That's when I decided I'd confront her that night. I couldn't keep pretending to be okay or ignore what I knew was happening. I had to face her, ask her the truth, and see if she'd own up or lie her way out of it. Honestly, I didn't know what would hurt more: discovering the truth or hearing her deny it all again. But I couldn't live like this anymore. Whatever was coming, I knew my life was about to change in ways I never expected. That evening, I was a mess. I kept going over what I'd say, how I'd handle her reaction, and what I hoped wouldn't happen. Part of me wanted her to just admit it, to come clean, and maybe, just maybe, we could salvage some part of what we had. But I knew Sarah. She was the kind of person who'd lie her way out of anything, spin a web so tangled I wouldn't be able to tell what was real anymore. Still, I had to confront her. I needed to hear her tell me she'd been unfaithful, that she'd been with Jake, that she'd betrayed everything we built. I waited until she got home around 8:30. She came in wearing that same confident, bitchy smirk she always had when she thought she was in control of the situation. Her heels clicked on the floor as she tossed her purse on the couch and looked at me. "Hey babe, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, voice dripping with fake concern. I looked at her, feeling every ounce of rage and heartbreak boiling inside me. "I know about Jake," I said coldly. Her smile froze for a second, and for a brief moment I thought she might crack. But then she straightened her back and gave me that dismissive look. "What are you talking about? You're imagining things, you always jump to conclusions." "Stop lying," I shot back. "That message, the one from your phone last night, you were planning to see him, weren't you? How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh wow, so now I'm a cheater, really? You must think I'm stupid. You're just jealous, Mike. Jake's my boss, yeah, but it's not what you think. We're just colleagues. It's not like I slept with him. God, you're so paranoid." I clenched my fists. "Don't lie to me, I saw the message. You're sleeping with him, Sarah. How long has this been going on? Are you even sorry?" She looked at me with that smirk, her eyes narrowing. "Sorry for what? For being better than you. For having a real connection with someone who actually respects me. Please, you're just mad because I don't want to waste my time with a guy who's too busy being insecure and jealous. Jake, everything I want, confident, successful, attractive. And you're just boring, you're not enough anymore." That hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt my chest tight and my throat go dry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was so dismissive, so full of herself. It was like she didn't even care that she'd just crushed me. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. But instead I just stood there, stunned into silence. She walked past me, flipping her hair. "Anyway, I don't have to justify myself to you. I'm done explaining. If you're going to act like some jealous idiot, then maybe we're better off apart." That's when she went into the bedroom and slammed the door shut. I was left standing there, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Part of me wanted to chase after her, demand answers, cry even. But another part of me just sat down on the couch and realized that everything I thought I knew about my life, about her, was a lie. In that moment, I understood that I was not only betrayed, I was abandoned. And the worst part, I still didn't know how I was going to pick up the pieces. I stayed there in the silence, staring at the door where she had just gone. My mind was racing, trying to process everything that had just happened. It was like my entire world had been turned upside down in a matter of minutes. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see that she was this kind of person all along. She had always been bitchy, yes, but I never thought she'd cheat on me with her boss. I mean, Jake was just some guy she worked with, right? Or maybe I was just naive. Maybe I refused to see what was right in front of me, because admitting it would make everything real. I felt this terrible combination of betrayal and anger, mostly anger. How dare she sit there and dismiss me like I was some idiot, like she was doing me a favor by admitting to her affair. I wanted to yell at her, to tell her how much she'd screwed us over, but I couldn't find the words. Instead, I just sat there, staring at the ceiling and feeling the weight of it all sinking in. I knew I had to confront her again somehow, not just to ask more questions, but to make her understand how much she had hurt me. I thought about telling her I was leaving, that I was done with her lies and her betrayal. But part of me also wanted to see if she'd finally crack and tell the truth outright. I guess deep down, I was hoping she'd show some remorse, some regret. But she hadn't. She was just full of that bitchy attitude, acting like she was the victim now. I decided I needed to get out of the house for a bit. I couldn't stay there, stewing in this mess. I grabbed my keys and went for a drive, trying to clear my head. But no matter how far I went, I kept thinking about her. About the way she lied to me, about her flirtations, about Jake, and how I'd been so blind. I kept asking myself if I ever really knew her at all. After a while, I ended up at the park, sitting on a bench, staring at the night sky. It was quiet, peaceful even, but inside I felt like I was falling apart. That night was the beginning of so many questions without answers. Did she ever really love me? Was I just some placeholder for her until someone better came along? And most of all, how do I move on from this? I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after this. But the hurt ran so deep, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to trust anyone again. All I knew was I had to find a way out of this mess somehow. And that meant facing the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The days that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and endless questions. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of how I'd gotten here. The worst part was that I still didn't know exactly when the affair started, how long she'd been lying to me, pretending to be the wife I thought I knew. I had no idea how to even begin picking up the pieces. Honestly, part of me wanted to just pack my stuff and walk away, forget about her and start fresh. But another part, probably the more stubborn part, wanted to confront her again, get her to own up to what she'd done. So I decided to talk to her a second time. I knew she'd be home that evening and I prepared myself for whatever she might say or do. When she walked in, she looked annoyed, like I was the one causing all the problems. I didn't care. I just looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You lied to me. You told me it was just work, just Jake, but I found the messages. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed and rolled her eyes, brushing past me. "Oh, so now you're accusing me of cheating. You're unbelievable. I told you it's not what you think. Jake is just a guy I work with. We're not having an affair, at least not in the way you're imagining." "Don't lie to me," I snapped. "I saw everything. I saw the messages, the late nights, the way you've been acting. How could you do this? How long has it been going on?" She huffed, crossed her arms, and looked away. "You always overreact. You're so insecure. Honestly, I don't have to explain myself to you. If you're going to be like this, maybe we're better off ending it." That was the moment I realized she didn't care. She wasn't going to admit anything. She was just going to keep lying, keep pretending that everything was fine. I felt this overwhelming mixture of rage and sadness. It was like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal, and the woman I thought loved me was just a stranger in disguise. I told her she was a bitch, that she didn't respect me or what we had. She just smirked and said she didn't owe me anything anymore. She packed a bag and told me she was leaving for a few days to think. I watched her walk out that door and something inside me snapped. I realized that I couldn't keep pretending to be okay with this. My trust was shattered, and I knew I had to do something drastic. That night, I sat alone in the dark, feeling more lost than ever. My mind kept circling back to everything she said, everything she did. I'd never be able to look at her the same way again. And as much as I wanted to lash out or break things, I knew I had to stay calm, think clearly. But inside, I was burning with a desire for revenge, not in a violent way, but to make her feel what she'd done to me. I didn't know exactly what that looked like yet, but I knew I wouldn't let her get away with this, not without paying some kind of price. The days after she left were the worst. I felt like I was walking around in a fog, everything numb and hollow. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. Every time I looked at her side of the bed, I remembered the lies, the sneaking around, the nights she'd hidden from me. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so stupid to think she truly loved me. The trust we built was gone, shattered by her selfishness and lies. I knew I had to do something, something that would make her regret what she'd done, even if I didn't know exactly what that was yet. I started by gathering evidence. Not just the messages, but her bank statements, emails, anything that could prove how deep the affair went. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just some gullible husband. I wasn't going to let her walk away unscathed. I wanted her to understand how much she'd hurt me and how much she'd betrayed herself too. The more I uncovered, the more I realized just how manipulative she'd been. She lied about everything, spun stories to her friends about how she was just tired or working late. But I knew better. I knew she was sneaking around, getting her fix of Jake whenever she could. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to fight her or beg her to stay. I was done trying to save what was already dead. But I wanted her to know I wasn't weak. I wanted her to see that I could fight back in my own way. So I sent her a message, calm, cold, and calculated. I told her I knew everything, that I'd gathered all the evidence, and that I was done with her lies. I told her I was filing for divorce, that I didn't want her anymore, that she'd lost me for good. I knew this would hurt her, maybe even scare her a little, but I didn't care. She played her hand, and now I was going to make her pay. The day of the divorce was almost a relief. It was the end of the nightmare, I told myself. I signed the papers, and as I handed them over, I felt a strange sense of closure. I finally freed myself from her grip, and though I was still hurting, I knew I'd survive. I'd learn to trust again someday. I'd rebuild what I'd lost. But for now, I was done. Done with her, done with the lies, and done with feeling like I was some fool who got played. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this mess. Trust is fragile, and betrayal cuts deeper than anyone expects. But I also learned that revenge isn't about hurting others. It's about reclaiming your strength, your dignity. I might have been betrayed, but I refused to become a victim. I took control of my life in the end. And I hope anyone out there who's going through something similar remembers, you're stronger than the pain, and you deserve better than someone who cheats and lies. Never forget that.